mean, I'm not surprised that, you get just scratches or tugging or even levitations. There's a lot of momentum and energy in this situation because the tale has been retold and it's a local legend and people really feed their energy into it. Welcome, everybody, to Unraveling the Unexplained. My name is Kat. I'm a longtime astral traveler and spirit consultant. This is my brother, John, who is a longtime fan of the creepy and the paranormal.
Hello, folks.
He has picked out a video for me to take a look at. I don't know what it is, but we are about to find out together.
Viewer discretion is advised.
I love when viewer discretion is advised.
It's always nice.
Be advised.
The southern parts of America have a rich culture of the occult, rooted largely in voodoo, which was practiced by slaves brought from Bambara, Haiti, and the Congo. Large parts of Louisiana, the Florida Everglades, as well as some parts of Texas, have their own terrifying tales of hauntings by spirits and creatures that lurk in the night. These stories have been part of the local folklore for hundreds of years, and up to this day, are told by the locals to those who want to listen. The Old Alton Bridge, located in Denton County, Texas, is rumored to be one of the most haunted places in America and has a dark and disturbing history. Built in 1884, the bridge connected the towns of Louisville and Alton, and it was traveled daily by many merchants and travelers from the time. Close to the bridge lived Oscar Washburn, an African-American entrepreneur. Along with his wife and 2 children, Oscar ran a very successful farm. The family's goats were renowned for the quality of their milk, meat, and hides. The locals called Oscar the Goatman. The savvy entrepreneur had the idea to install a large sign on the nearby bridge, Old Alton, to direct his customers to his farm. The sign read, "This way to the Goatman." Clan activity during the early 20th century in Denton is well documented. Back then, Texas was known as the #1 state in the nation for lynchings. For the Klansmen in the local government, Oscar's sign on the Old Alton Bridge was the last straw, as they were enraged by the black man's farm's success. On a dark, stormy night in 1938, members of the white hooded group crossed the bridge in silence in a car with the lights turned off. They stormed Oscar's home and dragged the screaming Goatman out of bed in front of his terrified family and brought him to the Old Alton Bridge, where a noose was waiting for him. As the men stumbled down the dark river's edge to confirm Oscar was dead, they were shocked to find only an empty noose dangling over the river's undisturbed waters. The panicked Klansmen frantically searched the area before rushing to Washburn's dwelling, believing he had run back home. Without hesitating, the deranged mob set fire to the house, while the goatsman's wife and children could be heard screaming inside.
Oh, I understand the trigger warning, right? Like, this is fucking awful.
Yeah,
and
it's absolutely horrible.
And his music editing and stuff on top of it is, I'm like, oh my God, I'm triggered. This is awful. Unbelievable. People are unbelievable.
Oscar was never seen again, but a vengeful spirit is said to haunt the Old Alton Bridge ever since that terrible night.
Oh, haunt your ass too.
Yeah. I imagine an event like that would create some seriously negative energy.
Yeah. We can talk about that in a minute, but just recognizing the horrors of humanity for a second, take it a moment to
just sort of process it.
Yeah, it never stops being
shockingly shitty,
shockingly, awful and depressing and hurtful.
Many strange encounters took place on the Old Alton Bridge since Oscar Washburn's death. On November 13, 1967, 2 friends by the name of John Terrence and Timothy Lewis drove up to the bridge, parked the car on the old structure and turned off the engine. As the glow of the headlights fades, only the moon shining through the clouds illuminated the bridge. John places the keys on the hood of the car and starts joking with Tim about the legend of the Goatman.
You know, they say the bridge is haunted by the Goatman,
says John.
They say if you knock 3 times on the metal, the Goatman will appear. Yeah, and Santa Claus is coming real soon,
laughs Tim.
Guess we'll find out, won't we?
John proceeds to knock on the structure using the butt of his pocket knife. Suddenly, the wind starts to rise and disturbs the forest's canopy. A putrid smell starts to overwhelm the 2 men. It is the smell of death. In the dark forest, movement can be heard. Footsteps getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the 2 men spot what looks like a pair of glowing red eyes staring at them from the darkness. The smell of rotting flesh is getting stronger, and a blood-curdling low-toned growl is heard. Frightened, the pair run back to the car. As John realizes he left the keys on the hood, it's already too late. In an instant, a dark figure in the woods turns into a large, snarling goat-headed beast.
What in God's name is that thing?
In the blink of an eye, the creature pulls John out of the car and drags him into the dark forest. In a total panic, Tim exits the car and takes off running into the dark night. 2 days later, the Louisville police are called to the Old Alton Bridge to investigate an abandoned vehicle. Despite an investigation being carried out, no traces of the 2 men were ever found. The only clues the police had were the car keys still resting on the hood of the car and John's pocket knife laying on the ground. This wasn't the first mysterious occurrence near the Old Alton Bridge, and in the years that followed, a wave of supernatural events have been reported by visitors to the cursed structure.
So, I mean, ask and you shall receive, right?
Yeah.
Like,
go to a creepy haunted place where something horrible happened and fuck around, I guess.
it always surprises me how people, they want to knock 3 times. They want to play Bloody Mary. They want to,
well, it's like we did that stuff as kids, It's a very human thing to kind of want to poke at the unknown. Some people do it for fun and because they don't actually think anything's going to go down and they're just screwing around with their friends, especially if you got a friend who's more into the creepy stuff and more inclined to freak out. Some people like to play with their friends like that and be like, let's freak them out a bit.
And for some people, nothing happens at all.
Yeah.
Right. This guy's videos are extra. The storytelling and the music and everything is, I don't know.
Many people have gone missing in the area. Official records from the Alton and Louisville City Archive document many instances where the police were called to investigate abandoned vehicles and missing persons in the vicinity of the bridge. The locals say that when near Old Alton, especially at night, your mind will play tricks on you. You will swear that you heard or saw something. The legend of the Goatman's Bridge is more than a mere horror story. Terrifying encounters witnessed by people from Old and Louisville, as well as curious tourists on the Goatman's Bridge, have been documented throughout the years. Enough so as to warrant a number of investigations by paranormal groups and even news stations.
A Denton County bridge is the focus of a terrifying ghost story. Goatman's Bridge is a 138-year-old structure connecting the cities of Denton and Copper Canyon. And as legend has it, if you visit, you may not be alone.
Evidence has been uncovered throughout the years of occult rites being practiced under the bridge and in the surrounding forest. Many believe the evil that lurks has been summoned at one point by satanic rituals or voodoo spells and caused Oscar Washburn's spirit to return deformed by the pain, fear, and horror of that dreadful night in 1938 and attempt to avenge his murdered family. Tales similar to the Goatman's Bridge exist throughout the Deep South in areas where to this day voodoo and witchcraft are still part of the local practices. Although claims of evil spirits could be attributed to the long-lasting culture of the occult in those regions of America, there is no shortage of actual documented reports of physical attacks. These include scratches, touching, and violent levitations, as well as some testimonies of people who were dragged by an unseen force and tossed into the river below. While no official records of Oscar Washburn or his farm next to the Old Alton Bridge exist, many historians agree that this story is most likely true. Oscar's faith was shared by numerous African Americans during that dark time in American history. Although a frightening one, the legend of Goatman's Bridge and the tragic story of Oscar Washburn can also serve as a reminder that the past shouldn't be forgotten, so as to never be repeated again. The end. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy our content.
We will, and we will link this video in the description in the channel. Go check them out, give them a like. So, okay, this was definitely like a shorter video that focuses more on the storytelling aspect than in the fact, particular facts or instances.
But it sets the stage for what the inciting incident is and why that bridge would be haunted and why people might be seeing weird things there.
Yeah, definitely. If we're, and we've said this before on the channel, is that if you're pouring a lot of energy and expectation and everything into a particular area or a particular incident, especially, I don't think it's strange that you're starting to get activity or things happening there, especially when there's such an expectation of violence or evil. Again, the ideologies, the thought processes around the incident that happened there, the practices that have happened there. There's a lot of fear mongering out there about, witchcraft or occult practices, or, you know what I mean? And anything that is not understandable to the standard community kind of gets villainized or fear perpetuated about the practices or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, there could be an assumption like, oh, there's occult rituals, it must be satanic,
right? That's what I mean. So you've got an area and a set of practice. You've got a very multicultural area with a lot of different practices happening, a lot of different belief structures, and a lot of different ideas happening about what that means, and it's all centered around this area of psychic activity where a tragic and terrible event took place. So it's not surprising, manifesting certain things around this area, that you're going to get people who experience stuff there for sure. I also don't think, I mean, to my way of thinking, it's not terribly surprising that people go missing around a bridge with a river where it's,
in the middle of nowhere. You don't necessarily need to have an occult thing going on for people to go missing in that kind of location.
I would be willing to bet that some of those missing people cases are not ghost related, but easily attributed that direction because of the area. In fact, it's probably like,
I mean, if you had knew about a legend of a place where people go missing due to a goat man, and you had a score to settle with somebody, that might be the ideal location to do it, because maybe the legend is perfect cover for a crime.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those missing persons cases are not necessarily ghost related, but just because of the remoteness of the location and the legends and stuff around the area and the handy dandy river available for disposal of things, right? Like it kind of lends itself to that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not all necessarily spiritually related there. However, it is possible for a soul, like a human construct, at the time of transition, if that transition is traumatic or uncomfortable, to be kind of in a stuck state where their vibration, given the incident, is way out of alignment with the vibration of the light or crossing over. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people will get into talking about vengeful spirits or angry spirits, and it can feel that way, but it's really no soul is permanently trapped in a location where they're cursed to terrorize people forever or anything like that.
They just occasionally get tilted.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's understandable. Like if the experience that you have when you transition back to non-physical is particularly stressful or frightening from a human perspective, it's easy for us to be in this panic mode, this fear mode, this really wild sort of vibrational state. And so if the individual is particularly frightened or traumatized, if they were worried about their family or their kids, more interested in still trying to protect, or you know what I mean, that vibe can keep you in the physical construct in a vibrational state because it's still more what the focus point is. So the idea, at least for me working, is to help get that to settle that out, to get that vibration so that it can match more with a frequency of higher realms,
Which
rather
probably
than
isn't made easy if you got people coming by your bridge all the time, poking things and
feeding into the energy. Yeah, feeding into the idea of a vengeful spirit or the idea of something evil happening, or that's all feeding into the vibe and the energy of that same vibration, rather than being of any kind of assistance in clearing stuff out. And sometimes when you get people like the paranormal investigation teams that go in, sometimes, I mean, no hate for people who are trying to gain proof, you know what I mean? Like, I know for a lot of people, it's the proof is what matters for a lot of people. But again, you've got people going in who are hoping to experience something, wanting something to happen.
So they're feeding into the energy too.
Poking and prodding it. Once again, it's sort of feeding into the root problem rather than actually doing anything to assist. And I can't stress enough that as fun as the legends and the stories are, and as much as we like to be scared and spooked and have these things happen, and as exciting as it is to see investigative teams go in and maybe have proof of ghosts and all of this kind of thing, it's at some point, this, and especially in this case, this individual deserves to cross over and find peace and be reconnected with non-physical and be able to actually process and move on from the experience. It's like if somebody went through a terrible trauma just in your life, and all anybody wanted to talk about with them is relive it, tell it to me, tell us your story. It's, you know what I mean? Rather than actually providing any kind of peace or stability or ability to cross over. There's no healing for that individual.
Yeah, instead of healing the wound, they're just kind of poking it.
They continue to poke it and continue to make it the focus point and continue to make it the most interesting thing about you. And you can see how that would be emotionally and spiritually, vibrationally troubling and damaging for somebody. Like, we wouldn't do that to a human person sitting next to us. We would recognize that there was wounding and trauma, and we would be in a healing modality to try and help that person be able to process those traumas and move through it. We wouldn't treat another human sitting next to us like that. And so it's kind of hurtful. I mean, the whole situation is shockingly hurtful to begin with, but to continue that and perpetuate it on into the afterlife, into somebody's transition experience, and to keep that energy flowing and moving in that direction is, for me, I find it's particularly, it's cruel in a way that most people don't understand, basically.
It's unintentional, but still very much there.
Right. Nobody is doing it intentionally. They're sort of just fueling their own interest and curiosity and excitement level and adrenaline and
Well, they don't know. They don't necessarily think they're feeding into it. They think it's a thing that's already there.
right. Yeah, so it's, to my perspective, it sort of extends the cruelty that this person went through longer than necessary in a unnatural fashion, that, it makes me sad to see stuff like that. Um, that's my hot take on it. Like,
Not necessarily surprising that occasionally that energy might manifest as a angry goatman
well, yeah,
thing.
I mean, of course. And, because, and again, that's what people are expecting to see, is an angry goat man. You know what I mean? So some of that is the translation of the vibration. Like, you're projecting your own expectations onto an energy situation, right? And, if you're, I mean, from the spirit's perspective, like, if that's the only energy you ever get, if all you ever get is people are afraid of you, I'm supposed to be a vengeful spirit, I should be vengeful about, like, that's the energy that keeps getting fed into it. I mean, I'm not surprised that the you get just scratches or tugging or even levitations. It seems like there's a lot of momentum and energy in this situation, because the tale has been retold, and it's a local legend, and people really feed their energy into it
Yeah.
and go there expecting something to happen. So yeah, that situations like this always make me feel sad. Like, I very much, for me personally, would very much hope that, somebody who lived their lives in adversity, who faced adversity and went through an just unprovoked and undeserved violent traumatic circumstance like that, would at least be able to find peace and cross over. And, transition should be the completion of the things that we experience and go through in this life. It's sad to me to see it unnaturally
Get twisted up.
prolonged, and yeah, for in circumstances like this. So sadness. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring the whole conversation down.
No,
but
no, no. This is
that's how
all
it,
about hearing what you have to say about
yeah,
these kind of
that's
things.
how it hits me. You know what I mean? Is a very, very sad circumstance, and I would hope a peace and transition for that individual. That's undeserved. So that's what I got.
All right.
Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you so much. Again, we will link the episode in the description. Go show some love to the original creators. They appreciate it, and so do we. Like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and we will see you guys next time on Unraveling the Unexplained.
Have a good one, folks.